Hi, my name is Nathaniel Shuda. I'm the city reporter for Daily Tribune Media here in Wisconsin Rapids, and welcome to River City's Community Access. We're in preparation for the spring elections. We're going to be sitting down to do 3 interviews, one with each of the mayoral candidates for Wisconsin Rapids mayor. Today I'll be talking to, or right now rather, I'll be talking to incumbent Mayor Zach Vruwink, who's going to be facing 2 challengers in the February 18th primary, former Mayor Mary Jo Carson, as well as challenger Stephen Koth Jr. But let's get right down to it. Thanks for joining me, Mayor Vruwink. I hope you're having a pleasant day here yet today.
Thanks for having me, Nathaniel.
And why don't we get down to it? And we've only got a little bit of time here to chat, and so many questions. I think a lot of people in the community are really going to be interested in this race as well. Mm-hmm. with
a primary.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And why don't you start off by telling folks who might not know a little bit about you, who might be a little bit new to the community, or maybe not necessarily follow city government all the time, to tell folks a little bit about yourself, who you are, and a little bit about your journey thus far. Sure. to this point.
Very good. My name is Zach Vruwink, and I was elected just under a year and a half ago as the city's 22nd mayor and youngest mayor. Prior to that, I was born, raised, and started and grew a business here right in Wisconsin Rapids. I attended elementary school at Emmanuel Lutheran School, and then graduated from Lincoln High School in 2006. After that, I went off to UWSP, where I received a double major in political science and public administration, with some business courses and etc. My company, Zach's Technology Specialist, I started when I was 15, right downtown Wisconsin Rapids, and really felt at that time, and still feel, that the downtown was a great place to start a business because of its incubation style, and recognizing that it was a good opportunity for me. And thankfully, I've been successful to date. So still have ownership of that company, but since assuming the position as mayor a year and a half ago, really left operations and day-to-day activities to management and the staff there. We still have the 3 locations, one in Wrightstown between Appleton and Green Bay, Rapids, and Plover. So my focus and attention is exclusively on business at the city, and been very happy that the transition went well, to speak of in general. So that's a little bit about myself and kind of what brought me to the position.
Okay. And a lot of different things along the way, kind of like, as you pointed out, kind of making that transition from the business world to obviously being a part of the community, growing up as well, and now kind of in that political type arena also. What inspired you here now? You're seeking your 2nd term in office. Mm-hmm. What inspired you to run for mayor a 2nd time around?
Well, really, I felt strongly that having grown a business in the community, I had direct interaction with residents or people outside the city limits, per se, over the course of almost a decade, and now it has been 10 years. And I really felt that the insight and the conversations that I had with residents and businesses, as we served businesses in the community as well, that it was time for new leadership within the city. It was time for fresh ideas and a different perspective. And I felt, given the fact that I hadn't served in city government and hadn't really been exposed to much of the inner workings of City Hall, that my experience in the business community, and as somebody that's fresh and new, that I could have something to add and to offer the process. And so that's kind of what drew me to the position. Then Mary Jo Carson, the mayor at the time, announced that she was going to retire, and I felt it was a great opportunity maybe to apply my business experience, my understanding of the community, as well as academic experience that I had gained at UWSP, to run and seek the position of mayor.
And obviously, and you kind of alluded to some of this already, obviously Mayor Carson retired. In fact, endorsed you at one point 2 years ago, and now a challenger here in this race. Mm-hmm. It's somewhat unusual, I think. People would agree that an incumbent, a sitting mayor, necessarily has to defend his or her experience in terms of that level of experience, having only finishing up on your first term. I mean, what is that like like for you to address something like that in terms of not having perhaps as much political experience being in an executive office at the city level compared to at least one of the other candidates?
Sure. Well, it's a very interesting question in the sense that politics is an interesting business, that unsuspecting things can happen at any given time. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mary Jo Carson and her service to the city over 6 years. She was elected 8 years ago to lead the city and really to respond to the challenges that the city had at the time. I would say that my candidacy and my position as mayor, as I continue to operate the city and lead the city, is that we have the continuous need for new leadership and strong ideas and fresh perspectives in that respect. I can say that as somebody that has now worked for the city and led the city for a year and a half, that it really took about 6 months to close to a year to understand and build a routine for certain city operations and city frequency of business. So I would say that coming into the position fresh for anybody is going to take a number of months and a period of time. In fact, that was something Mary Jo Carson and I spoke about during the campaign in the previous election, was how much time it was going to take to get settled into doing things. So while it may have taken that amount of time to understand city operations, I can say that I didn't take that amount of time to just allow things to happen and city business to kind of occur. It was just within that first year already that we proposed the Rapid Improvement Initiative, the Process Improvement Initiative inside City Hall, made changes to the room tax allocation, proposed a different way of doing our budgeting. So I think all of those sorts of things didn't require a certain amount of time on the job, but yet there is a certain level of just getting comfort and building trust with and relationships with staff members, because ultimately it takes a team, and to build those sorts of relationships, they don't occur overnight, especially somebody new and fresh coming into the fold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And kind of to go off of that, something else that I kind of wanted to ask you a little bit about are some of those initiatives that you've kind of kick-started, put together, gotten through the council, those types of things. You mentioned a few of them, the rapid improvement, kind of the efficiency piece, and some of those other pieces along the way. What I guess what are some of those pieces that you would point to in terms of things that you have accomplished while in office the past 2 years?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing that begs, and it's always on the top of people's minds, is what are we doing to build a stronger local economy? And I would say one of the first accomplishments that was achieved this year around in that priority area was simply the certification of the Rapids East Commerce site. Building on the work that had been done there with the pursuant of the building of the blade plant, understanding what engineering studies and what environmental documents that needed to occur. Getting that site shovel ready for development is absolutely critical to securing a tenant in that park, particularly because of all of the work and all of the studies that would need to be done given any interested party to develop that site. So getting the certification for the shovel readiness of that site and really being the 13th site in the state to be certified was a tremendous accomplishment, not only for myself, but of the City Council as well. We all recognize that for any of the accomplishments to occur, City Council really has to have its blessing over the priority. So that was something that the City Council believed, as well as I, that it was important. So last spring we pursued that certification. There was no guarantee in the certification, but thankfully we were the state's only certified site in 2013. So I think that in and of itself, from a perspective of what are we doing to build a stronger local economy, the certification of the Rapids East Commerce Park demonstrates that the city is ready and willing to do business. Beyond that, it also demonstrates that the work has been done in terms of environmental evaluation, any sort of unknowns that may occur in the ground underneath, wetlands, etc. So cutting the red tape and making sure that that site is ready for development was absolutely a priority, and certainly was an accomplishment. I think beyond that, you alluded to, and we spoke a bit about, the Rapid Improvement Initiative, the Lean Six Sigma training of city employees. So City Council last March approved the training, or the dollars to pursue a grant opportunity actually within the state to help us pay for the training. They felt that whether or not we were successful in the grant opportunity to help us pay for it, that it still was a priority. And so we trained 30 city employees from frontline to managers on learning process improvement techniques. techniques so that they could apply it into their daily roles. Recognizing that everything is a process, from picking up monthly brush pickup throughout the city to business inspections, for example, all require a process. And oftentimes, without taking the time to look at the process, it gets very, very complex, and oftentimes there's waste, whether it's time or money, that could be spent somewhere else. So I think the rapid improvement has been a roaring success in the sense that we've got frontline employees and managers working together to solve problems. And beyond that, to reallocate resources, whether it's time or money, more efficiently inside the city government. So empowering employees to make decisions was absolutely critical. That was the second piece, I think, operationally. The third piece has been really around understanding and gleaning from department heads and city staff what they think are opportunities to improve city operations. So whether it's riding along on the snowplow truck driver for a day or doing a police ride along at night, understanding city operations is absolutely critical. And I felt that I couldn't be a successful mayor if I didn't seek first to understand how it was we were doing business. Beyond that, I think another strong accomplishment or notable accomplishment would be supporting resident-led participation opportunities, whether it was the Love Your Block cleanup that occurred twice last year in Ward 1, District 1, or the ongoing meetings they're having that were city, whether it's myself or the police department, are supporting for them to feel safe in their neighborhood again, recognizing that increased police presence wasn't necessarily the solution, but neighbors meeting each other and understanding who their neighbors are, and then learning techniques to make sure that they could be the eyes and the ears for the police department. I think, despite the fact that I've had a year and a half in office, I haven't really waited to get working on things. And I think this last calendar year, my first budget that I accomplished and operated under is a demonstration of that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I know a couple of the other things that you have done, you've kind of implemented some new positions over at City Hall. There's the new executive coordinator in your office, that position, as well as a social media, really kind of getting more active on using technology and social media to really attract, maybe that younger demographic and get more of those folks involved in what's going on in the city. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, one of the first changes you would recognize was the hiring of the executive coordinator. Previously, the position was a clerical position, which served a very strong focus and a need in the office. But I recognized that coming into the position, if I was going to have early success, I needed somebody who could act also on behalf of myself as a researcher, to be able to research certain techniques and initiatives, because if we were going to propose them, not having a good understanding of what maybe successes or failures other municipalities or other cities or even other mayors had was absolutely a critical component of that. So repositioning the position, it wasn't a new additional hire. In fact, we were able to backfill another position with the previous individual who held the position. So it was a zero increase to the city budget, but it was really focusing on the job description, what else that position could achieve. The second piece you had talked about, and that was the social media intern, and recognizing that our city was really off the map when it came to social media or new media and how we communicate with individuals who might be online. And so that position was filled last fall, and that individual's been working throughout the winter and now into the month of January to develop a social media policy, to direct departments on how they can have conversations and build an online presence to be speaking to the community in new ways, whether it's via Facebook or Twitter or any other new emerging media site or social media site. Again, another success in the sense that prior to this, we had been missing out on a significant demographic of our community. That if we didn't connect with them over social media, we couldn't be reaching them with important news or snow emergencies, etc. And I think that's been a huge success in the sense that people now don't necessarily have to pick up the phone or send an email or go to the website. They can jump right onto a social media site to find answers or get information.
Mm-hmm. And I know you have received a little bit of criticism in that regard with in terms of communication or accessibility, and certainly you pointed out it appears trying to be a little bit more accessible through social media and those types of avenues, but you have kind of received some of that criticism about maybe disenfranchising or feeling that people are disenfranchised if they don't have social media or have access to the internet or to a computer or things like that, as well as just being able to just having that personable relationship with somebody who might call the mayor's office looking for information and things like that. I mean, how would you address those criticisms of that? Whether it be maybe you're not personally returning those phone calls, or not having perhaps the executive coordinator follow up on some issues and those types of things.
Sure. Well, we aren't replacing any traditional modes of communication. So whether it's calling my direct line directly to my office, which the voicemails get forwarded to my cell phone, sending me an email, which I still have personal access to my email and don't have anybody actually accessing it or responding on my behalf, or stopping into the office. I think there may be a perception per se that I'm not accessible, but accessibility is very important to me. Number one, because I firmly believe residents need to be engaged and be informed so they can participate in the decision-making process. I think beyond that, the first State of the City address that our city had done was a way to be accessible directly to the mayor and to additional department heads. And I think beyond that, I really haven't had the opportunity to say, no, I'm not going to participate in that for any particular reason. Of course, there's always the schedule, right? And opportunities where, I may have a conflict with another event or something else I'm scheduled to be at. So those things are always going to happen. But I think beyond on the note of the accessibility, I think accessibility is critically important to myself and will always be while I am mayor. So if anyone has the interest in setting up a personal meeting with myself or a visit for me to be present at a particular event, I'm always going to hear those opportunities. And frankly, if my schedule allows, I will be there. But I think related to social media and to others, we're not replacing any traditional modes of communication. But I think when I was elected, I heard loud and clear from residents that they wanted our mayor to be out in the community and not necessarily leading from behind the desk, that monthly staff meetings might be sufficient to meet with staff members, and then individual meetings on a weekly basis. And beyond that, promoting our community, building relationships beyond the city boundaries, recognizing that if our mayor is not present at statewide league or advocacy groups, our city was truly off the map, and frankly, may not be exposed to what issues that might be happening down in Madison, for example, or in DC. I mean, all critically important to whether it's our operation of the city or operation of the public water and light utility, et cetera. All of those things I think are within the purview and the scope of the mayor's position.
And you touched on the next thing that I wanted to ask about, which is you also have kind of received some criticism from not only opponents in this race, but even from the city council, asking for regular updates in terms of what kinds of things did you learn or accomplish at say a League of Wisconsin Municipalities meeting or other conferences or conventions. And I know in the past there have been, especially in that first term, when a mayor kind of is first elected and is, as you pointed out earlier, kind of learning the ropes, so to speak,
Sure.
in terms of what's all involved with the office and things like that. Really have kind of taken that opportunity to take advantage of those, going to conferences and learning everything they can and things like that. But just a couple months ago, the City Council, the Finance and Property Committee, had asked for kind of a more of a formal kind of update in terms of how those are going. How is that going? What have you been doing to
Sure.
keep council members updated in that regard?
Sure. Well, I kind of think, first of all, go back to where all of this started in the community promotion line item in the mayor's budget. Then Councilmember Lee Albrecht, when he was on the Finance Committee, made it very clear, and the Finance Committee agreed, that our mayor should have resources to be able to go out and promote and build relationships in the community, whether it's attending conferences, building networks with the peer mayors who might be in the space, or businesses. And so there's a business opportunity to be able to speak. They need to have resources to be able to attend and be present. As you mentioned, not often, you can't replace a personal handshake, for example, if you're meeting with somebody or needing to build a relationship with someone. So the Finance and Property Committee has been provided an update on all of the trips that I took last year, all of which were budgeted for. There was not any expenditures that were incurred by the city that were not budgeted for. And City Council controls the purse strings, as you're aware, and so they are in full control of deciding what myself or any other department spends money on, for example. So this year, in the 2014 budget, all of the budgeted items have activities associated with them. Through the activity-based budgeting we instituted this last year, that every event that I attend will be noted in a proactive basis that I intend to attend this current year. So beyond the update from myself of all of the trips that I attended, who I made contact with, and really what was the relevancy to the city, all of which has been provided to the Finance and Property Committee. So if any resident has a question about a particular trip I attended or what the purpose may have been, I'd be glad to provide a response or even provide a copy of what I provided to the Finance and Property Committee.
Okay. Speaking of the City Council, obviously starting in the spring, there are going to be 3 new council members. 3 of the incumbent, the current council members have said that they're not going to seek re-election, including Council President Gene Young, as well as Bob Nash and Marion Hokamp.
Right.
So going into a new session or new term for you, but also for of the council as well. I mean, what are your thoughts? What are your reactions in terms of this opportunity, perhaps, to have 3 new members, no matter who is elected in April, but to have 3 new members on the council? How is that going to change that dynamic?
Well, it certainly will change the dynamic, just based on who they are and the members. You know, with the departure of those 3 individuals, there's decades of institutional history and institutional knowledge that they will take with them. So my hope is that they will stay somewhat close so we can reach out to them if they have perspectives that they want to lend. But it also is an opportunity for our community and those individuals in those districts to have new representation. And I think that's what we're talking about in terms of new ideas and fresh perspectives, that sometimes it's more than just changing the mayor, it's also changing the representation of the council, recognizing that they control the purse strings, that they are going to be the body that is going to take action on specific city ordinances, etc. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity for myself, and provided I'm successful in the spring election here, to be able to work with those individuals and to hear from them what their ideas might be for the city. Because yes, you can change the mayor, but you can't change the focus of the city council without changing membership of the city council. So I certainly respect the individuals and the years of service they put into the city and into the city council in specific. I recognize that they all came at a time and were called to serve, and I think it's just a really cool opportunity for us to harness the power of the new individuals that will be serving on the city council and their perspectives, that they all have something to offer. And it most certainly will change the dynamic of our committees and their committee assignments, because we'll have some fresh faces. So it's also going to be an opportunity, I think, for our city council to become, because there's new members, maybe inexperienced members per se, to educate them on the role of the council and how they can support and promote our community and promote our city. I think they all have a role in that beyond just the mayor and expecting the mayor to be the champion of those certain things. But I think beyond their service on the council, it allows them the opportunity to understand city operations and get involved. One of the new council members, Scott Kellogg, was involved with the rapid improvement piece and learning to be trained on city operations. Now, recognizing their role as legislative and not necessarily operations and functions, but by understanding it, they can then propose action and possible improvements in that respect. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity to have fresh leadership and new perspectives on the council.
Okay. We've got just about a minute left here. I'll give you the opportunity, as I will all the other candidates as well, just to kind of get a chance to speak directly to the voters.
Sure.
And maybe address a little bit about why they should vote for Zach Vruwink in the primary here on February 18th.
Sure. Well, it's been a tremendous honor to serve as your mayor for the last year and a half. It really has been an eye-opening experience and, frankly, a great way for me to gain a much deeper appreciation and understanding for our city. I feel that there's a tremendous opportunity to come in 2014 and the years to come beyond that in terms of new opportunities and new changes. And I think we've just scratched the surface in my tenure here as mayor in the last year and a half. And I think great progress and promise is underway for us to continue that progress as we move move forward. Really, thank you for the opportunity to serve as your mayor. It's really a deep honor and a great privilege to be able to do so, and I look forward to doing so for the next 2 years. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time. And like I said, the primary is going to be on February 18th. And we'll be bringing to you interviews with the other two candidates as well. Again, thank you, Mayor Zach Vruwink. We've also got, like I said, challengers, former Mayor Mary Jo Carson, and challenger Stephen Koth as well. But again, thank you for your time.
Thank you for the opportunity.